100 Longevity Lifestyle Designers. This is Zach here with Secrets of Longevity in Humans.com as well as martin-kilgour.com. And I want to talk about, in this mini-series that I'm doing here, about a lot of dietary philosophy and sort of thoughts that seem to be emerging in a lot of people's minds at the moment, specifically in the raw food movement, but just in the general whole foods, lifestyle, bringing conscious awareness to our diet kind of community. There is increasing amounts of acceptance and looking into specific things that I'd like to talk about and give my opinion on. And of course, I'm not judging anyone in this community for thinking these things or having their own opinion or seeking their own knowledge. But what I do want to address is people jumping on sort of like a bandwagon or instantly accepting something just because a lot of people are talking about it, or there's sort of halfway truth being spoken and they may not be completely knowledgeable about a wide range of different ways of looking at research before taking it in as their own lifestyle. So specifically in a recent video I talked about using 4 different ways of looking at research and information to decide how appropriate it is for you. Number 1 that I always put at the top of the list is, of course, scientific research behind something. This is for obvious reasons. It's great to understand what the effect of a certain nutrient or dietary habit is impacting a larger population when you do larger studies or in more clinical trials. There's various ways of looking at this, but we can't be dogmatic about just looking at things under that light as well. Then there's also traditional or cultural understandings of what people traditionally did, and this can be appropriate too, but again, not isolating it, keeping it in context with other ways of looking at information. The third one was taking in almost like an intuitive or instinctual standpoint in what we're looking at in terms of our own lifestyle, specifically dietarily, but this can apply to all areas of our life. And then the last issue I talked about, or last way of looking at information, was to look at the effect it has on your body over the long term. So the last 2 are somewhat similar, but instinctual and intuitive is more like the immediate effect and reaction you have to something and how it might be benefiting you, whereas the long-term effect something has can tell you more about whether this habit or food or lifestyle choice is the best for you. So what I'm personally observing a lot of people jumping into is the second idea here and abandoning some of these other ideas and just using the second idea of a cultural or traditional type of lifestyle as being the optimal, yet they're letting go of some of these other ways of looking at things almost as a reactionary tactic. Perhaps they've grown up in a way, or in terms of their nutritional awareness development, they've been given so much science and information that they just want to reject that completely and just embrace like what some culture's doing in another remote area of the world. And I think it's great that people are reacting in a revolutionary type of manner. However, I think there's a balance point. We don't want to suddenly switch to the far end of the spectrum. This can be like a vegan suddenly turning into a carnivore. It's a little bit shocking to the system if you were to do that. Another important thing I think people are forgetting to do is look at the quality of the information that's coming in and the source of it and the quality of the health of the source of that information. I've been doing a lot of looking into some of these sources and figures that are talking about this information, and this is just a purely intuitive first reactionary standpoint. I haven't overly embraced this lifestyle, so I can't say what it would be like for me in the long run, but this is my take on it from reading their works and seeing them as people as they move into their elder years. And I've actually been following a lot of these health figures for quite a while, whereas some people have just suddenly seen them or heard of them and they immediately embrace them. So I'm a little skeptical because I have seen their work over the long time, or have heard stories about their health and lifestyle, and I don't think it's necessarily for the best. I'm obviously not going to go into names here. I don't like to go into that ever really. But when you have someone giving health information and they don't appear to be in radiant, vibrant health, and they don't appear to be younger than their age, that if they happen to give that out, then I really think we need to be strict with our intake of that information and really be careful about embracing that. Specifically, if someone has jowls, that's not a sign of health. If someone looks pasty, is completely gray and kind of like fat and not really pleasing to the eye, we don't really need to be taking in that information, regardless of how logical it might sound. And I'm really talking about someone who's been teaching this for 30 plus years. And there are other individuals who teach similar things and have similar issues going on in their physical appearance, but might not have the exact same things going on. I'm really zeroing in on one person here. It's just unbelievable that this person can say the things they're saying and appear the way they do. I've even heard stories of certain individuals in the raw food movement who have been on stage debating with this person, and they both give their take on their dietary recommendations, and they're sort of like in the audience. There's even this two-sided thing going on because people come to see a debate like this to support each side, and then they're sort of at a standstill, and then a child happened to stand up and just announce that she liked the ideas coming from the person that actually happened to be the raw foodist. And they said, well, this person looks logically more vibrant, healthy, and younger. This is like an 8-year-old child. And I don't really want to take the advice or listen to this woman who's like, looks like death warmed over and is kind of overweight and ugly. Now, am I judging this person? Well, yes, of course. I'm judging their appearance. That's not a bad thing. Evolutionarily speaking, we have the ability to judge others if we're looking for a mate in terms of procreation. We automatically look for features of symmetry and health and vibrancy for ideal mates, for the propagation of the species, if you were to look at it from that standpoint. So while someone might, defending this position that I'm sort of attacking here, might say that I'm too indoctrinated by modern culture and I have this stereotypical thought of what beauty is, if you look at what the image of a healthy person is in the media, it is definitely exaggerated and there's unhealthy practices going on there. Yet there is a lot of unhealthiness in our society today, and what I often see is people trying to make up for that by saying we need to embrace all sorts of not so ideal images, when really it's actually human nature to be attracted to physical beauty, and that's not a bad thing. It is actually a way for us to determine whether someone living a certain lifestyle is actually creating it in themselves. If someone does, over a number of years, I'm not just talking about someone who's just started dabbling in something and getting all sorts of healing crises and stuff, but someone who's actually advocating something and been advocating for over a decade, they should look really good. But as they age, if they start to look like they're falling apart and don't really look all that natural and healthy anymore, then I don't see that as a good thing to be taking into yourself. Now, yeah, I'm just focusing really on that one intuitive, sort of instinctive, reactionary way of looking at information. If I were to look at the ideas of science and other things, it would also show me that there isn't so much validity behind some of the teachings of these people, despite the heavy emphasis on traditional diets. Yes, I think there's a lot that can be learned from traditional ways people ate. Yes, of the work of certain individuals who went around the world looking at the health of people's mouths and their whole physical structure in reflection of their diet and how that changed when they ate more processed foods. Yes, there's a lot we can learn from that. But taking that and running with it and saying we all need to eat a high animal food diet when the science vastly overwhelms this idea, despite people's many reactions to it, they still haven't come up with the science to back up their own end. They're very quick to dissuade and dismiss all these huge studies that have taken like several decades and a lot of meticulous work put in to refine them, to make them unbiased. Yet, these people who aren't displaying health at all, and we are going to see them sort of move along with the tides of time, they haven't put the work in themselves to promote their own diet in this way. They just keep harping on this whole traditional idea. And again, traditional and cultural standings of diet can be fantastic and a great way to add into the information we want to take in to boost our own confidence in our lifestyle. But what I see, the idea of a high animal food diet, is these cultures that are often said to live long don't. So specifically the Inuit and the Maasai, they don't live long at all.